Chapter 33. The ground under our feet mourns. Doom to you, destroyer, not yet destroyed, and doom to you, betrayer, not yet betrayed. When you finish destroying, your turn will come, destroyed. When you quit betraying, your turn will come, betrayed. God, treat us kindly. You're our only hope. First thing in the morning, be there for us. When things go bad, help us out. You spoke in thunder and everyone ran. You showed up and nations scattered. Your people, for a change, got in on the loot, picking the field clean of the enemy's spoils. God is supremely esteemed. His center holds. Zion brims over with all that is just and right. God keeps your days stable and secure, salvation, wisdom, and knowledge in surplus. And best of all, Zion's treasure, fear of God. But look, listen. Tough men weep openly. Peacemaking diplomats are in bitter tears. The roads are empty, not a soul out on the streets. The peace treaty is broken, its conditions violated, its signers reviled. The very ground under our feet mourns. The Lebanon mountains hang their heads. Flowering Sharon is a weed-choked gully, and the forests of Bashan and Carmel, bare branches. Now I'm stepping in, God says. From now on, I'm taking over. The gloves come off. Now see how mighty I am. There's nothing to you. Pregnant with chaff, you produce straw babies. Full of hot air, you self-destruct. You're good for nothing but fertilizer and fuel, earth to earth, and the sooner the better. If you're far away, get the reports on what I've done, and if you're in the neighborhood, pay attention to my record. The sinners in Zion are rightly terrified. The godless are at their wits' end. Who among us can survive this firestorm? Who of us can get out of this purge with our lives? The answer's simple. Live right. Speak the truth. Despise exploitation. Refuse bribes. Reject violence. Avoid evil amusements. This is how you raise your standard of living. A safe and stable way to live. A nourishing, satisfying way to live. God makes all the decisions here. Oh, you'll see the King, a beautiful sight. And you'll take in the wide vistas of land. In your mind, you'll go over the old terrors. What happened to that Assyrian inspector who condemned and confiscated? And the one who gouged us of taxes? And that cheating money changer? Gone. Out of sight forever. Their insolence, nothing now but a fading stain on the carpet. No more putting up with a language you can't understand. No more sounds of gibberish in your ears. Just take a look at Zion, will you? Centering our worship in festival feasts. Feast your eyes on Jerusalem, a quiet and permanent place to live. No more pulling up stakes and moving on. No more patched-together lean-tos. Instead, God majestic, God himself, the place in a country of broad rivers and streams. But rivers blocked to invading ships, off limits to predatory pirates. For God makes all the decisions here. God is our king. God runs this place and he'll keep us safe. Ha! Your sails are in shreds, your mast wobbling, your hold leaking. The plunder is free for the taking, free for all, for weak and strong, insiders and outsiders. No one in Zion will say, I'm sick. Best of all, they'll all live guilt-free. Chapter 34. The fire's burning day and night. Draw in close now, nations. Listen carefully, you people. Pay attention. Earth, you too, and everything in you. World, and all that comes from you. And here's why. God is angry. Good and angry with all the nations. So blazingly angry at their arms and armies that he's going to rid earth of them. Wipe them out. The corpses thrown in a heap will stink like the town dump in midsummer. Their blood flowing off the mountains like creeks in spring runoff. Stars will fall out of the sky like overripe, rotting fruit in the orchard. And the sky itself will be folded up like a blanket and put away in a closet. All that army of stars shriveled to nothing, like leaves and fruit in autumn, dropping and rotting. Once I've finished with earth and sky, I'll start in on Edom, I'll come down hard on Edom, a people I've slated for total termination. God has a sword, thirsty for blood and more blood, a sword hungry for well-fed flesh, lamb and goat blood, the suet-rich kidneys of rams. Yes, God has scheduled a sacrifice in Bozrah, the capital, the whole country of Edom, a slaughterhouse, a wholesale slaughter, wild animals and farm animals alike slaughtered, the whole country soaked with blood, all the ground greasy with fat. It's God's scheduled time for vengeance, the year all Zion's accounts are settled. Edom's streams will flow sluggish, thick with pollution, the soil sterile, poisoned with waste, the whole country a smoking, stinking garbage dump. The fires burning day and night, the skies black with endless smoke. Generation after generation of wasteland. No more travelers through this country. Vultures and skunks will police the streets. Owls and crows will feel at home there. God will reverse creation. Chaos. He will cancel fertility. Emptiness. Leaders will have no one to lead. They'll name it No Kingdom there. A country where all kings and princes are unemployed. Thistles will take over, covering the castles, fortresses conquered by weeds and thorn bushes. Wild dogs will prowl the ruins. Ostriches have the run of the place. Wildcats and hyenas will hunt together. Demons and devils dance through the night. The night demon Lilith, evil and rapacious, will establish permanent quarters. Scavenging carrion birds will breed and brood. Infestations of ominous evil. Get and read God's book. None of this is going away, this breeding, brooding evil. God has personally commanded it all. His Spirit set it in motion. God has assigned them their place, decreed their fate in detail. This is permanent, generation after generation, the same old thing. Chapter 35. The voiceless break into song. Wilderness and desert will sing joyously. The Badlands will celebrate and flower, like the crocus in spring bursting into blossom, a symphony of song and color. Mountain glories of Lebanon, a gift. Awesome Carmel, stunning Sharon, gifts. God's resplendent glory, fully on display. God awesome, God majestic. Energize the limp hands, strengthen the rubbery knees. Tell fearful souls, courage, take heart. God is here, right here, on his way to put things right and redress all wrongs. He's on his way. He'll save you. Blind eyes will be opened, deaf ears unstopped. Lame men and women will leap like deer. The voiceless break into song. Springs of water will burst out in the wilderness. Streams flow in the desert. Hot sands will become a cool oasis. Thirsty ground, a splashing fountain. Even lowly jackals will have water to drink, and barren grasslands flourish richly. There will be a highway called the Holy Road. No one rude or rebellious is permitted on this road. It's for God's people exclusively. Impossible to get lost on this road. Not even fools can get lost on it. No lions on this road, no dangerous wild animals. Nothing and no one dangerous or threatening. Only the redeemed will walk on it. The people God has ransomed will come back on this road. They'll sing as they make their way home to Zion, unfading halos of joy encircling their heads, welcomed home with gifts of joy and gladness, as all sorrows and sighs scurry into the night. Chapter 36. It's their fate that's at stake. In the 14th year of King Hezekiah, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, made war on all the fortress cities of Judah and took them. Then the king of Assyria sent his general, the Rabshakeh, accompanied by a huge army, from Lachish to Jerusalem to King Hezekiah. The general stopped at the aqueduct where it empties into the upper pool on the road to the public laundry. 3 men went out to meet him: Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, in charge of the palace; Shebna, the secretary; and Joah, son of Asaph, the official historian. The Rabshakeh said to them, "Tell Hezekiah that the great king, the king of Assyria, says this: What kind of backing do you think you have against me? You're bluffing, and I'm calling your bluff. Your words are no match for my weapons. What kind of backup do you have now that you've rebelled against me? Egypt? Don't make me laugh. Egypt is a rubber crutch. Lean on Egypt, and you'll end up flat on your face. That's all Pharaoh, king of Egypt, is to anyone who leans on him. And if you try to tell me we're leaning on our God, isn't it a bit late? Hasn't Hezekiah just gotten rid of all the places of worship, telling you you've got to worship at this altar? Be reasonable. Face the facts. My master, the king of Assyria, will give you 2,000 horses if you can put riders on them. You can't do it, can you? So how do you think, depending on flimsy Egypt's chariots and riders, you can stand up against even the lowest ranking captain in my master's army? And besides, do you think I came all this way to destroy this land without first getting God's blessing? It was your God who told me, make war on this land, destroy it. Eliakim, Shebna, and Joah answered the Rabshakeh. Please talk to us in Aramaic. We understand Aramaic. Don't talk to us in Hebrew, within earshot of all the people gathered around. But the Rabshakeh replied, do you think my master has sent me to give this message to your master, and you, but not also to the people clustered here? It's their fate that's at stake. They were the ones who were going to end up eating their own excrement and drinking their own urine. Then the Rabshakeh stood up and called out loudly in Hebrew, the common language, listen to the message of the great king, the king of Assyria. Don't listen to Hezekiah's lies. He can't save you. And don't pay any attention to Hezekiah's pious sermons, telling you to lean on God, telling you God will save us. Depend on it. God won't let this city fall to the king of Assyria. Don't listen to Hezekiah. Listen to the king of Assyria's offer. Make peace with me. Come and join me. Everyone will end up with a good life, with plenty of land and water, and eventually something far better. I'll turn you loose in wide open spaces, with more than enough fertile and productive land for everyone. Don't let Hezekiah mislead you with his lies. God will save us. Has that ever happened? Has any god in history ever gotten the best of the king of Assyria? Look around you. Where are the gods of Hamath and Arpad? The gods of Sepharvaim? Did the gods do anything for Samaria? Name one god that has ever saved its countries from me. So what makes you think that God could save Jerusalem from me? The three men were silent. They said nothing, for the king had already commanded, don't answer him. Then Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, the palace administrator, Shebna, the secretary, and Joah, son of Asaph, the court historian, tearing their clothes in defeat and despair, went back and reported what the Rabshakeh had said to Hezekiah. Chapter 37. The only God there is. When King Hezekiah heard the report, he also tore his clothes and dressed in rough, penitential burlap gunny sacks and went into the sanctuary of God. He sent Eliakim, the palace administrator, Shebna, the secretary, and the senior priests, all of them also dressed in penitential burlap, to the prophet Isaiah, son of Amos. They said to him, Hezekiah says, this is a black day. We're in crisis. We're like pregnant women without even the strength to have a baby. Do you think your God heard what the Rabshakeh said, sent by his master, the king of Assyria, to mock the living God? And do you think your God will do anything about it? Pray for us, Isaiah. Pray for those of us left here holding the fort. Then King Hezekiah's servants came to Isaiah. Isaiah said, tell your master this, God's message. Don't be upset by what you've heard, all those words the servants of the Assyrian king have used to mock me. I personally will take care of him. I'll arrange it so that he'll get a rumor of bad news back home and rush home to take care of it. And he'll die there, killed, a violent death. The Rabshakeh left and found the king of Assyria fighting against Libnah. He had gotten word that the king had left Lachish. Just then, the Assyrian king received an intelligence report on King Tirhakah of Ethiopia. He is on his way to make war on you. On hearing that, he sent messengers to Hezekiah with instructions to deliver this message. Don't let your God, on whom you so naively lean, deceive you, promising that Jerusalem won't fall to the king of Assyria. Use your head. Look around at what the kings of Assyria have done all over the world, one country after another devastated. And do you think you're going to get off? Have any of the gods of any of these countries ever stepped in and saved them? Even one of these nations my predecessors destroyed. Gozan, Haran, Rezeph, and the people of Eden who lived in Telassar? Look around. Do you see anything left of the king of Hamath, the king of Arpad, the king of the city of Sepharvaim, the king of Hena, the king of Iva? Hezekiah took the letter from the hands of the messengers and read it. Then he went into the sanctuary of God and spread the letter out before God. Then Hezekiah prayed to God, God of the angel armies, enthroned over the cherubim angels. You are God, the only God there is, God of all kingdoms on earth. You made heaven and earth. Listen, O God, and hear. Look, O God, and see. Mark all these words of Sennacherib that he sent to mock the living God. It's quite true, O God, that the kings of Assyria have devastated all the nations and their lands. They've thrown their gods into the trash and burned them. No great achievement, since they were no gods anyway. Gods made in workshops, carved from wood and chiseled from rock. An end to the no gods. But now step in, O God, our God. Save us from him. Let all the kingdoms of earth know that you and you alone are God. Then Isaiah, son of Amoz, sent this word to Hezekiah. God's message, the God of Israel. Because you brought King Sennacherib of Assyria to me in prayer, here is my answer, God's answer. She has no use for you, Sennacherib, nothing but contempt, this virgin daughter Zion. She spits at you and turns on her heel, this daughter Jerusalem. Who do you think you've been mocking and reviling all these years? Who do you think you've been jeering and treating with such utter contempt all these years? The Holy of Israel. You've used your servants to mock the Master. You've bragged, with my fleet of chariots I've gone to the highest mountain ranges, penetrated the far reaches of Lebanon, chopped down its giant cedars, its finest cypresses. I conquered its highest peak, explored its deepest forest. I dug wells and drank my fill. I emptied the famous rivers of Egypt with one kick of my foot. Haven't you gotten the news that I've been behind this all along? This is a long-standing plan of mine, and I'm just now making it happen, using you to devastate strong cities, turning them into piles of rubble, and leaving their citizens helpless, bewildered and confused, drooping like unwatered plants, stunted like withered seedlings. I know all about your pretentious poses, your officious comings and goings, and yes, the tantrums you throw against me. Because of all your wild raging against me, your unbridled arrogance that I keep hearing of, I'll put my hook in your nose and my bit in your mouth. I'll show you who's boss. I'll turn you around and take you back to where you came from. And this, Hezekiah, will be your confirming sign. This year's crops will be slim pickings, and next year it won't be much better. But in 3 years, farming will be back to normal, with regular sowing and reaping, planting and harvesting. What's left of the people of Judah will put down roots and make a new start. The people left in Jerusalem will get moving again. Mount Zion survivors will take hold again. The zeal of God of the angel armies will do all this. Finally, this is God's verdict on the king of Assyria. Don't worry, he won't enter this city, won't let loose a single arrow, won't brandish so much as one shield, let alone build a siege ramp against it. He'll go back the same way he came. He won't set a foot in this city. God's decree. I've got my hand on this city to save it for my very own sake, but also for the sake of my David dynasty. Then the angel of God arrived and struck the Assyrian camp. 185,000 Assyrians died. By the time the sun came up, they were all dead, an army of corpses. Sennacherib, king of Assyria, got out of their fast back home to Nineveh. As he was worshipping in the sanctuary of his god, Nisroch, he was murdered by his sons, Adramelech and Sharezer. They escaped to the land of Ararat. His son, Esarhaddon, became the next king.